Gone Texas Tech. 3, Dos, Uno, and 0. Chris, unexpected names, prospects, targets, possibilities popping up as we near the end of this window. You and I are sitting here midday Friday having our conversation just for context's sake.
Yeah, you had, the funny thing about the guys, obviously we've touched on Damon Wilson, the Missouri edge. I mean, he's a big ticket item. There's just no other way around it. I mean, you think about him, we've talked about what the price tag that may come with that. He's looking at CJIU. He's looking at replacing, potentially Romello Height or David Bailey that are, high-end picks, Big 12 Conference, or he's got going to play for Jason Taylor and, replacing Ruben Bain or the Matador kid at Miami that are also thought to be very high-end picks and playing in the ACC, but like Jamon Mathis rolled in here on a visit, and it's funny because we do remember Jamon Mathis was back in Lubbock in early part of the season on the other sideline against when Kent State played here, and I think it's just funny how some of this stuff works. You also had and then there's Jordan Church, the offensive lineman, who has heard from like 5 to 7 different Power 4 schools. So I think you're trying to get something done there. But again, there's some other options that have since emerged or are emerging. You had a player come in from UMass that I think is an outside linebacker edge type player. And these are more of the Jamon Mathis types. These are more of like, okay, we can have you for a year or two and kind of I think that you are being linked to and this isn't quite Damon Wilson, but there's a defensive end that just jumped in from Ole Miss in the last day that went to Manor High School. That is the same high school of Taj Brooks and Quentin Joyner and Cofield and some different folks there. I think Garrett McGuire maybe even coached him in high school, or there's some coached him in Nebraska maybe as a freshman. Anyway, there's some connections there. Excuse me. So anyway, there are new things emerging. How is all this going to get nailed down, and what will you decide to execute? What can you get done? What's your preference? Good question. But the positions of need haven't changed. And at the time we're talking, there's still some offensive line entries that I'm trying to sort through, or I would tell you that I'm trying to figure out if there's any connection there, because these are your bigger type fish too. Because I think Jordan Church is a really good offensive lineman. People are just now learning about him because he just got into the portal. He's not Jordan Seaton, the left tackle from Colorado, but this is there's some good. I just think what the offensive line community may be seeing is that, dude, do you realize what some of these guys are getting paid? And there's only so many good ones out there. And the good teams really want as many of them as they can get, and they're willing to fund that. So this is why you've got your hat in hand and going, hey, man, anybody want to take this money? Because we got spots.
Chris, can I ask you a personal question in addition to a question from the mobsters?
Yes.
What is a Princewell Unman-Mielen, and why are so many texting that name collection of words with a question mark to me this week?
That's the Ole Miss defensive end.
Okay.
Did
I nail the pronunciation, or what are you rolling with?
What you said. I'll just retweet. I'm not going to learn that one. I'm already trying to. You know where I'm at with Mateen's last name, so I'm going to not learn that one unless I have to. But I'm willing to learn it now, or I'll just call him Prince. We'll just do the Prince and the Mateen, and they can be like. Madonna or Prince or one of those music acts that just have one name. We'll roll that.
All right, good to know. Thank you. Thanks for including a question of mine. This question here, a couple people popping up with this one. I don't know if this was going around or something, but questions about making a star defender a safety if you were looking for options. And I mean that by position, a John Curry or a Platt. Is there any shot? And some have pointed out, I guess, some comparable size between a Wisniewski and, say, Curry. I don't even know if that's true. But is there any shot that those guys could play safety?
Probably not. No, I don't think that's what you're looking to do. Because the star is this hybrid position where there's some safety aspects to it. There's some coverage responsibilities to it from a tight end standpoint, maybe the running back. But I guess to dumb it down, you really are still a linebacker. It's more of an extension of your linebacking core than it is an extension of your secondary. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think people will be really pleased with what all the things that Corey Platt can do for you, and then we know what we're thinking of John Curry, because this. Keep in mind, you're going to move Adam Hill to linebacker. I think you already have, or we kind of had told you that months ago that was kind of the plan. You've got Brock Gowas. You've got some of your signees that you're added in here, and then you've got your Ben Robertses and your Austin Romaines now, and then John Curry. If something were to happen to like Ben or Romaine, Curry can absolutely play on the interior, and I think Brock Gowas can now too after going through a year of the system, and then that allows Platt to move into the star, and then you're good to go, man. But I envision one of them lining up in Cole Wisniewski's spot? I don't know if we're going that route. I think that's where you get into the Boss Martins or Aaron Bradshaw's of the younger guys, or the slightly older guys, but still very young. Your Malika Scaras, your Peyton Morgans, some of those types. So
yeah, that seems a little out there.
Yeah, that's assuming you don't do anything from the outside. Bring in a safety, or Chapman Lewis doesn't U-turn in back here, and all those things. So anyway, but yeah, you've got options. They're just younger and inexperienced, but very talented. I'd rather have talented than necessarily experienced, but I'd prefer both if I could get that.
You mentioned this name, so I'll ask you because Henry asked about Adam Hill to linebacker. How do you see him actually factoring into that group? What's his role or kind of slot?
Yeah, I think he would play one of the two. He's just a football guy, man. He's smart. He's got some instincts. I think this is a special teams guy. I think he gives you quality depth. I think he's all about this team and this program and about West Texas. And he's just I think that's a match made in heaven. Do I ever envision him eventually being a starter there? I don't know. But I think that's a natural fit for what is best for, and he may wish he could stay at running back a little bit, but he doesn't need to because of their addition of Ace Rowden, and then because of reintroducing Quentin Joyner to the room. So you're in a good spot there. And I would guess, speaking of, Michael Henderson can move back over to the secondary as well, who's a big-time athlete. Yeah, so there you go.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what's the two deep on the interior linebackers between Romaine, Roberts, and then do you have a feel this far out from the spring what that might look like?
Yeah, I mean, I would think that Brock Gowas is one, and then, is Adam Hill, or is one of those other guys?
Is it like Trent Lowe, Wesley Smith?
Yeah, there's going to be some of that too. Yes, but see, this is where a lot of your special teams depth comes in too. A lot of these types of guys are in a lot of your special teams units as well, and they provide a quality service that way because these are just like good, smart football players that can
hard-headed individuals.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, Gowas is the name that's next after you're talking frontline guys, right? Like he's the sort of
and there's this. He's different, but there's a similar. Because Adam Hill had these crazy numbers in high school, right? Like setting all these records and was doing all this. insane stuff at the high school level. Well, Keegan Ash is doing some of that as well. Like he's the one that's setting all these crazy numbers at running back, mind you. And so I think that there's some, anyway, I think Ash is not going to be here. I think he and Guyton are maybe two of the only ones that aren't going to be here until June. So, but he would be another, because I think he's just going to be another very smart, intelligent, football player. So I think you're in pretty good shape there.
All right, thank you for that question. This one from Aaron, sticking with that side of the ball, asking about cornerback specifically. How are we feeling about that group? I know we talked clearly about the front line and being excited about Bryce Pollock, but what's the makeup of that position?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously Bryce Pollock and then Amir Boyd would be your two starters. I think you still have Teron Grant here. You've got Davin Martin that you've signed from UTSA. And then you've got Ashton Hampton and, a bunch of position flex with some of these other safety DB types, your Michael Hendersons, your Oliver Mileses. You're in a good spot there. I think had you not signed Davin Martin, I would be a bit worried there because you did graduate Balfour. He's going to try to go through the draft process. You did lose Mo Horn. You did lose Macho. But you've got numbers there and very talented individuals. Again, just some of those on the back end are inexperienced. And Teron Grant, it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens with him because he's a multi-year guy. He was part of the portal class last year.
Mm-hmm.
He 1,000% looks the part. He just spent too much of this year injured and didn't really factor in. But he's it's one of those guys where, okay, now you're needed. And now it's time to, because I think he would have another year after this season to come back. But like if it's not working, then maybe maybe he doesn't get to stay around for that third year.
All right, thank you for that question. This one from Kent: are JUCO players a thing of the past?
I even heard. I think large in part. Yeah, not totally, but I think that I even heard this. There's only same conversation, just different classification. But I even heard that there's only, I think, like 35 to 45 early enrollees for the NFL draft. Okay, like that are foregoing because the NIL opportunities have allowed so many guys to come back to college. That some NFL teams are basically saying, we're not going to draft from the group of 5 schools anymore. You know how you'd always see the Boise States, Western Michigan, the occasional Sam Houston State. I mean, whatever. Like those schools would put guys into the NFL. And nowadays, those rosters are all picked through because those are the ones. I mean, look at what Texas Tech is doing. I mean, you're trying to take like a rotational guy from Kent State to add into the mix. You've taken a San Diego State and a Miami of Ohio defensive end and said, "Hey, come be our starter. Let's elevate you." So I say all that to offer up that you're not necessarily looking at the junior college because that is now what the group of 5 kind of, it all just has kind of been spun up. So,
yep. All right. This question here from Octavio, a couple more before we wrap it up. I like this one. Mental exercise also for Chris Level. If we were talking about a splash or kind of big ticket addition, did you say most likely a wide receiver, edge, safety, none of the above? He gave you out, and he told us he loves the show. Thank you, Octavio.
I'm just going to be very blunt with you right now. That's going to come from with what I know right now, and it can change as the day that goes on today and even into the weekend. Right now, I would say edge is most likely, and offensive lineman is second most likely. And I'm not so certain that you don't want to try to do both. And again, big splash will be different for some folks.
Yeah.
On the way that they view it. But I think you will try to go get a proven not cheap player at defensive end or and offensive line. Yes.
All right. Thank you for that one. Jemiah Mosley, redshirt potential, had 3 or 4. I think Brian, a few others.
So here's what's been happening with Mosley. He has been warming up with the team in uniform, and it looks like he's part of the normal things. I think he's been out there at practices and all that, but then like when the game, it's like he's part of the initial warm up, but then like right before they come out one last time, he goes in and puts on the sweatpants and all that stuff, which tells me you're getting really close. I don't know if there's a point of no return. I don't know if this kind of if there's a similar 5-for-5 feeling that, hey man, we can go ahead and play him. He's going to get it back. We're not stressed about it. I mean, I don't know that specifically. I just know the thought was after Christmas, we have no plans to redshirt him. We now here you are 2.5 weeks into January. I mean, has that thought changed? I don't know. That they need his body, they need his skill set, they need his dirty work, they need his length. So good question. I would love to know myself, because I keep like before every game, I'm like, do I put Mosley on my board and like get ready for him, or do I just say and then not today? Good question.
Let's see here. We had a few. It was Patrick, I think Ben, Brandon. Just wanting to double check. Any of these guys represented by the same guys as Fardaz Amac? Great recall. Great recall on that one.
No.
You know the answer. Brandon's asking this question, Chris. He says he's a more recent alum, started in the Matt Wells era, so zero doubt this last football season, the greatest he's ever watched, even with the Orange Bowl. He wants to know from our perspective, how does this season rank among those we've enjoyed the most all time?
Yeah, this was the best one. Yeah, I mean, it was. You did things you'd never done before, and hopefully will become more the norm. But this one eclipsed 08 for me for sure, just because you didn't win anything in 2008. Some would argue maybe it was more difficult to actually crack the code back then, and some would even argue you never really were that close to winning anything then. But this one, you just smoked everybody, man, and you held up a league championship, and you played in their fancy tournament that they'd created. You didn't make the BCS that year because you got smoked against Oklahoma, and so yeah, this is tops. That one now moves to 2. So we've been fortunate enough to see 2 really elite football seasons over the last, say, 20, 25 years here. But this one, yeah, I'm not going to hem and haw about that one. Yeah, this was the best. And I'm not getting caught up in the recency. You're going to get to hang up a banner. All these guys are going to get a big old fancy gold ring. You push through, and no, you didn't get to stay as long as you wanted, but you got to push through. You even got to buy, because you would have won. No, you didn't win a CFP game, but if you've been the 5th seed, you would have smoked James Madison. No doubt about that. You would have done it in Lubbock, Texas, and all that. So I don't want to hear any, they didn't even win a playoff game. Well, yeah, you did. You just didn't have to play it. Yeah, there's that.
Definitely number 1 football season all time. I think it ranks probably in my Red Raider fan enjoyment. Slightly number 2, only 2, a national final run basketball season. And so caught me so off guard, even with Ike Turner as our head coach. I don't care. It just caught me. It was just amazing. Those are my 2. And if you told me I was wrong to have them in that order, I might just swap them. But those are my 2. Amazing. And I'd love to do it all over again. No pressure, Grant or Joey, but I'm ready whenever you guys are. All right, Chris.
Cowan, you are gold, man. I mean, I hope everybody
you are too.
There. That was solid work, man. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'll just let everybody kind of go at it their own way and then catch up if they didn't get that. But that was solid work, dude. I mean, I bow
We're
down
not
to you.
Coasting into the weekend.
Yeah, that's right. No doubt.
Looking on all cylinders. We're clocked in on this Friday. Chris, appreciate you as always, man. Enjoy the ball game this weekend. We'll reconvene on the other side of whatever's going down at United Supermarkets Arena. It's going to be electric. I'm going to bathe in the 90s a little bit as well, celebrating Red Raiders. You want to talk about one of the most enjoyable seasons of all time? 30-2 do anything for you?
that season is, in so many ways, it's kind of why I do what I do.
Got you going.
Yeah, I mean, it was, yeah. I bit into that season hard, man, and I enjoyed every bit of it. I mean, I was sweaty palms and like feeling the highs and lows, and there wasn't a lot of lows there, but Coach Dickey was the man. I'm still buddies with Darvin Ham to this day. Every time I see Tony Battie, all class. I mean, those are not. There's not many of these teams that have rolled through here where I could pretty much name the starters, the rotation, the roster, and all that. That's one of them, and for good reason. So I hope if you're in the building tomorrow night that you cheer loudly and give those guys. And while we're bitching about stuff, I don't want to hear anything about some dumbass academic counselor crap that went on.
Could not care less.
Come on, man. Like, what are we even doing? Yeah. Like, yeah.
I was thinking about that this week, Chris, because of all the College Sports Commission and NIL and blah blah blah, and I'm thinking about honoring this team, and I won't recall at all anything the NCAA had to say about anything involving this team. I'd like for you, though, just before we get out of here, because you dropped this on me. I wouldn't have had this walking around knowledge yesterday until you dropped it on me. 30-2, I think, was the record. We know who the second loss was to, if you have any memory at all. You dropped on me who the first loss was to. Yeah. Wasn't to who you would expect, and with an all-time NBA name, right?
Eastern Michigan and Earl Boykins was a smaller guard that spent a long time in the NBA. I think it was one of those like neutral site tournament type deals in like late December. But yeah, I mean, so Earl Boykins and Allen Iverson were the two guards that you lost to against that year.
I don't know. Gotcha.
Yeah, but I mean, but you beat everybody else, but that was it.
That's going to be a lot of fun to celebrate those guys. All right, enjoy the ball game, Chris. Appreciate everybody for being out there. Keep the text, the questions coming anytime, any subject. Thank you for being mobsters. We love you all. For Chris, I'm Casey. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on the other side.